Hey there friends, I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to just sit down real quick in a quiet moment with a hot cup of tea and share some of the updates of what life is looking like here in Western North Carolina at our little homestead, as we are still now months down the road in the recovery process from Hurricane Helene. First of all, hello and welcome to so many new faces. I'm Heidi, and our little channel here, Heavenly Minded Home, just turned 7 years old, and we've been around here in the space just loving sharing about homeschooling and homemaking. I love talking about biblical womanhood and just really living a life of purpose as our family kind of walks this journey through ministry and different areas, and just wanting to serve the Lord and make the most out of each and every day. And when Hurricane Helene came through our town back in September, it really was just such a surreal thing, going from having a hurricane, which a tropical storm, when they hit up here in the mountains, were just east of Asheville. It really isn't that big of a deal. It means you get a little extra rain for a day, maybe some wind, it's really not a big deal. And so we were, all gung-ho, and our friends had just moved out here from California, and we were building up the homestead, and we had so many amazing projects going on. And then that happened, and it just brought everything to a screeching halt. And we've been sharing about the damage we've sustained, the damage of our area, the just resources and help we've been trying to pour into, not only, of course, trying to rebuild our lives and put our home back together, but trying to help in our local community as well. And for any of you who are curious and you want to know of ways that you can help, that you can get involved and make a difference in the lives of those quite literally here going through all of this, I have links down in the description for all of that. But I thought I would give you guys a bit of an kind of chatty update here. So I've made a cup of one of my just favorite teas, and I thought coming down and sitting down and chatting with you all would be a great way to just kind of update you guys on what the reality really looks like out here for our family and so many others as well. Now, I shared our last update was the mold here in our house, and we received so many comments on that, which I was expecting. Many of you, of course, rightfully so, very concerned. Mold is very, very disturbing and something that we need to take seriously. And part of my sharing that was to share the reality of just how much mold all of us are dealing with out here. We live in the Southeast, which stays, quite moist pretty much all year round anyways, so that's something that we're quite used to dealing with and treating and keeping up on in our homes. But the problem that so many of us saw with Hurricane Helene was, yes, the storm came through. Well, yes, many did lose their entire homes. I do not want to take away from that. The majority of us out here didn't lose our entire homes in the way of the river quite literally sweeping them out, although that did happen to many families. The majority of us are just dealing with the damage that was done. So for us, our basement, we have a full basement, it's what I'm sitting in right now, filled with water. We had inches upon inches upon inches of water, and the only reason why it didn't become feet and feet and feet was that we opened up our basement and we're literally shoveling water out all day long as the storm hit. We did all that we could, but then we went for a week without any power whatsoever. And so as the water just sat here, kind of just baking in the house. We got out as much as we could, but we couldn't run shop vacs, we couldn't run dehumidifiers, we couldn't run fans, right? We couldn't do so many of those things there for that first week. It was amazing to see how quickly the mold started to grow. And we shared videos of the mold really just taking over the basement. And so again, I know some people, have been very concerned, and they're like, oh, you're gonna have to tear down your whole house. You're gonna have to strip it, the whole foundation, everything's gonna have to go. Well, the reality is we can't just do that. So many people have asked, why don't we just move? Why don't we just go somewhere? I couldn't afford to if I wanted to. If I wanted to just up and leave and have to go start over, there's no way our family could afford to do that. We don't have that option. It genuinely doesn't exist. Besides the fact of I don't know where on earth we would find that we could go to that somehow would be the same price point of what we can afford while allowing us the space that we need for the amount of people and animals and everything that we have going on. That just simply isn't an option for us, nor is it something that we want to do. This is our home. We love our community. We feel that the Lord has placed us here, and we want to keep pouring into the community and to our own homestead as we try to rebuild and come back from this. Is it difficult? Is it exhausting? Is it very, very taxing emotionally? Yes, of course, but this is our home. This is where our roots have been laid, and this is where we feel the Lord calling us to be. And so just up and leaving isn't really something we want to do, nor is it something we could afford to do either. And so we've been working here on the property. We've had to really work hard on stripping everything out of the basement. I'm sitting down in it now. I wanted to give you guys an update. The mold removal is going fantastic. We still have more to do, but it is really, really going well. So many of you helped in sending supplies, and we have been utilizing all of those, and it really is working and making such a difference. I mean, the walls are white when they were black with mold. I mean, it has been so much work. It's our family of 14 here just pouring into it bit by bit as much as we possibly can, and to see it kind of slowly but still moving forward with some progress has been absolutely amazing. And so we've got the mold pretty much dealt with. We're still making sure just everything is really, really thoroughly treated before we move on. All the drywall has been stripped out, all the old insulation. I mean, we've pulled so much and stripped it all out. I feel a little overwhelmed, to be honest with you, because there's just stuff everywhere. Our whole house, upstairs and in the basement, everything is kind of just willy-nilly all over the place because everything's torn apart. Nothing can get put away. We've had a ton of rain lately, so we can't even have stuff outside. We're having to keep everything in. Winter is setting in, and so it's cold. And so that means we're having to chop wood and get firewood taken care of and things brought in, and trying to deal with the animals because our barn is destroyed. We have not been able to fix the barn. And so we're already looking at some mighty, mighty winter storms that are predicted to be heading our way. And so we're kind of having to pause everything in the basement where it's at, because now we're going to need to focus our attention to finding ways to get shelters put together for our animals out on the property. And so it's one of those things where I feel like we're constantly doing something, we're constantly working. I mean, honest, all of us, we're exhausted. We've been doing so much. And while we're so thankful for the bits of progress we are seeing, it is a little difficult because every time you turn around, you might fix one, but then you got like 10 other things that pop up over here. You start to see just the reality and weight in how expensive all of this is for, our own home, others locally that we have been trying to support and put resources in, just friends and family as we're all, talking about the things that are going on, and we're working on this, they're working on that. It's amazing to see just how much this is going to take. And I think the reality of how long it's going to be before we really start seeing that progress. And so we feel a little overwhelmed. Stuff's kind of just everywhere. There is no just like cleaning and fixing things because, you're in the middle of tearing so much apart. You're having to replace so much. It's really just so overwhelming. And then with the cold coming in, having to, go and tend to things over here because, firewood and animals are now taking over precedence because we don't have a barn and trees are coming down everywhere and, all these different things that are going on. There's also been things like just still having power outages and internet going out and different things going down because we have had some storms come up. We have had some, really blustery, windy days. We've gotten a ton of rain again here lately, and there were so many trees compromised with Hurricane Helene. tons came down, but tons still were compromised. And so more trees have been continuing to come down over the past couple months. And as more trees are coming down, we're even seeing the towns, they're doing a great job, but they're sending out crews to take down trees that are definitely in the process of coming down. And so it's like just this every week, this continual process of more trees down on our property, more trees down on the road, trees are coming down and knocking down lines, and then lines are having to be fixed yet again. We even had here in our town a wildfire this past week that burnt up hundreds of acres, and it was started from a downed power line. This is where I'm saying that the damage done by Hurricane Helene, yes, was massive in September, but here, at the end of December, we're still seeing so many issues and problems and things coming up because of that initial damage. When you have such a large area that has had all of its power lines ripped apart, whole mountains just leveled, all the trees down, landslides everywhere, you've had so many of these things happen that it's amazing to see even still. I kind of feel like a broken record, but it's like, no, we're dealing with wildfires, we're still dealing with power outages, we're still dealing with landslides, we're still dealing with trees coming down, plus just the toxicity and the things in the air from all of the sediment that has washed up over everything and is still affecting people. Something that I thought was just, every time we go out, it really just is so surreal, but we spent hours this past week trying to get up kind of through the mountains and onto the other side over there in eastern Tennessee. And it amazes me that we drove for hours to get just over 100 miles and to still see how much destruction is out there. Our town as a whole that we're currently in, they've made a lot of headway. We're getting a lot going, and it really has been serving as the hub for some local towns that were completely wiped away. Swannanoa, Black Mountain, Old Fort, they've been nearly leveled. And so we are next to them and have kind of been serving as this hub to kind of help get some resources and things going. Although there are plenty of businesses and homes and areas in our town that have been destroyed, at least we were slightly less destroyed than our neighbors. And so we've been utilizing the resources we have to help those around us. But then going up and trying to get through these mountain passes and get just into eastern Tennessee, it was so just surreal to see towns that we were going through that they're just leveled. We were trying to get through Newland, we're trying to get up through Roan Mountain, we're trying to get up through these things, and we're just driving around, and I'm so thankful that we get to see it firsthand so that we can share and we can be a voice going, no, like all of our towns have mountains of debris that as so many of local members and then people who have come in to help are collecting and clearing and trying so hard to work and clean up the damage. We now have these massive mountains of debris that are left behind here from the storm. You're driving around, you see foundations where homes used to be. You see whole town areas where all the stores are closed, and out in front of them are just piles of debris because they were just filled with water. Everything is destroyed. The local economy has been so shaken. And so as we go through all of this and we see this, it really is one of those things where I'm like, man, you're trying to get this new normal, you're trying to get your life, put back together to some degree. I want to be able to put my house back together. I want to be able to do a normal homeschool day. I want to be able to, kind of do some of these normal things. And it just still seems so far away. As we're trying to go through and restore and rebuild in our own homes, we're all trying to go out and help and do as much as we can for our friends and neighbors and the local community. And then just the weight and the toll of seeing all these communities here around us that have been so utterly destroyed. And so we're still here, we're still plugging along, we're still trying our hardest. But I'll be honest and say that we're tired. We are getting so exhausted, and the fact that so much work still needs to be done is honestly a bit overwhelming. like I said, we've gotten the basement pretty much handled when it comes to the mold. With the cold that's coming, we really need to work to find a way to get some sort of structures somehow created on the property for the animals. Still dealing with trees that are down. There's so much, wood that needs to be chopped up and hauled up and organized and put somewhere. With the rain that's come in, our gravel driveway that we got after the hurricane so that we could get in and out of our property, because our creek took away most of our driveway. There's really none of it left. We can't afford to put in a whole new driveway because that's very expensive. So we did get some gravel, but as of course the rain is picking up and it's still there along the creek side, a lot of the gravel is already starting to relocate. And so we're trying to fix that so we can continue to get in and out of our property. Trying to get the animals taken care of, getting all the outdoor stuff is taken care of as possible, so that way we can start to refocus back inside again. We have a lot of damage that was done. So much water came just barreling through that there is a lot of kind of the structural pieces we found as we cleaned up the walls, getting all the mold and everything off. We've got a lot of that we're gonna have to go through now and kind of reseal with concrete. And then once we do that, we'll be able to get the rubber sealant on the walls and kind of get everything again just redone, so that way the basement is watertight before we can, even look at getting drywall and things put back up, so that we can somehow put our home back together. And so studs and exposed electrical and kind of all of this is going to be the reality here for a while, because we just simply can't get to those next spaces, as we're trying to move through these different steps. So it's definitely a slowly but surely thing that seems to be going on. Again, the fact with the wildfire popped up last week, and there was just, smoke everywhere, and it just filled the air and was definitely very concerning. And so thankfully, the rain did help with that. So we are thankful for that. Now everything is mighty soaked again. So there's just so much that needs to be done. And it's just, I know all of us who are out here and putting together these videos, we keep saying it, but it is just going to be such a long road. And it is a bit overwhelming when you see, how much everything costs, how much work everything takes, how many just, hands you need to make any sort of progress. And so we're going to keep sharing, as I think it is important to share the reality of what's going on. I know the media has pretty much moved on for the most part. This isn't really hot topic news anymore. There's always more stuff going on in the world, and that's understandable, but it's going to be a long process. And we are making a little bit of headway, but certainly nowhere near where I hope to be by the time winter really was starting to set in. So it is what it is. The Lord gives us each day, and we're thankful for that. And all of those of you who have been sending resources, making donations, praying, watching these videos, sharing these videos, clicking on all of the links, it really does make such a big impact. And so please keep doing so. Keep sharing and sending and doing all of those things, as it really does make such an impact. And so here's where we are. We're trying, I would love to get back to some normal videos. I would love to get doing some fun things around here, but really it's just been a lot of pouring in. There's so many, not rescue, but search groups that are out there doing stuff and really trying so hard to find as many, there's so many missing people still, and people are doing their best to try to find what they can before winter really sets in. And so that's something that just weighs really, really heavily on all of us out here. And so we continue to pray for those families, as again, there's a lot to still work through for all of us out here. And so thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here, and for being a piece, and for all the love and just care that really it is so encouraging to see from so many. I'm noticing as I'm sitting here, I see water leaking. Just caught my eye. I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know why it's happening, but it looks like a new catastrophe just showed up here at the house. So I'm gonna have to go deal with that and find somebody else to come and help me. Another day of slow, very slow recovery from Hurricane Helene. So back to it for me. I love you all. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for everything. Again, links down in the description. I'll see you on the next one. Bye, friends.